All right. So hold on. I just texted Derek. So I did get a message from Claire. She had something come up and she will not make it. And Beth has I guess her son is in the Coast Guard and is getting ready to get out, and they're having some emergency family meeting about what that means. So what that means exactly, I don't know. So neither of them will be with us. All right. Sorry, my printer isn't working, and usually I print out the minute or the agenda so I can see it and see you all at the same time. So did anyone get a chance to watch the video of Cordelia? I sent you all a link with our charter on there, and a video of Cordelia, who used to be our attorney with the Center for Nonprofit Law. And she went through about what it means to be a board member on a nonprofit. I see, Elliot, you watched that. Did anyone else get an opportunity to watch it? Okay. I can't hear you, Dan. All right. Come on.
There we go. That's it. My comment wasn't important. I just wanted to say I watched that video last year when Cordelia presented that to us.
Oh, fantastic. It has some great information.
Nice. Is the person in the video our current lawyer?
No, she actually left the Center for Nonprofit. And now our current lawyer, her name is Susan, and she's a partner in the law firm, which is great. We had a different lawyer for a little while, and then we ended up getting a partner, and she's fantastic.
Great.
All right. Thank you all for your patience. Welcome, everybody. So as Briandra stated, we record our meetings just so that you know, and then we post them on YouTube and we post them on the neighborhood page. So people that have been unable to attend have an opportunity to watch it and keep up with what's happening. On the board meeting, what happens is that we leave the first 10 minutes open for public comment. All of our meetings are open to the public, so anyone can come. After the 10 minutes are up, we ask that anyone that is not a board member or is not, for instance, like Julie, she is the chair of a committee, so she can present budgets, talk about what's happening with her committee, that kind of thing. But we ask for people that are not involved in the business part of the board to just put themselves on mute and feel free to watch the rest of the meeting. But from what I can see, we have no visitors today. Is that correct? So
that is correct. Yeah.
So it's public comment can also include people from the board. Is there anything that anyone wants to bring up real quick? Okay, so let's see. So we're learning a little bit here. So if you, we've been on Zoom forever. So if you pull up on the right-hand side, you can see there's a little chat. If you have a question, you can put your name in the chat, or if you want to make a comment, You can also go down below where it says raise hand, and it raises your hand, or you can just simply raise your hand. But we ask, that we let everybody say what they have to say, and that way we get the best perspective of what people are trying to give across. So just real quick, let's do, I know we did this on election day, but this is our welcome to the first official board meeting of the new 2024-2025 Whitaker Community Council Board. My name is Margaret Steinbrunn. This will be my second term as chair, and I think my fourth or fifth year on the board. I have lost count. I was an at-large board member before COVID, and then did a lot of working on the vaccine clinics and hand sanitizers and all of that, and was kind of boots on the ground. I've lived in the neighborhood for, I don't know, 15, 17 years, something like that. And, I love the Whitaker. It's the most diverse neighborhood as far as I can see in Eugene. And I've been in Eugene Springfield almost 30 years. So, okay, Steen, let's just start at the top. And how about we go to you?
Hi,
So you got a little echo going on there.
I'm Steen. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steen. And we've lived in Whitaker, or when we briefly did not live in Whitaker, worked in Whitaker for the last 36 almost years, I guess. A long time. Love this neighborhood, and want to be more involved in what's going on here, and make sure that the livability of Whitaker for the people in Whitaker is maintained. That's my main goal. I want people to be able to afford to live here. I want for us to keep every tree and green space that we can in this Heat Island neighborhood, and I want things to be good for the folks who live here. So anyway, I'm interested in more art, and I'm interested in the park, and that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much. How about you, Sue? Are you with us, Sue? Okay, well, we'll come back to Sue and we'll move over to Elliot. How about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name's Elliot. I was elected the vice chair, and with that, I'm hoping to do quite a few things with the Whitaker Community Council. I'm hoping to do a lot of business development, kind of bring up donations to also align with our grant funding as well. I feel like donations will give us the flexibility to actually, when somebody says, I need help, we can quickly react rather than going through a grant proposal and application and next year reacting. So I hope to make those change fairly quickly. I'm a recent resident of the Whitaker community. I recently moved for work. Before I was up in Corvallis, getting my degree up there, and then I grew up in Southern Oregon in the Rogue River area. So yeah, I love to kind of bring the whole baseline. So we've done an incredible job supporting people with rental assistance and other individuals through our grants. But I want the entire Whitaker to know who we are and to be the rising sea to lift all boats, just passively. If you're a Whitaker resident, the council has done something within the past year to help you. And those are the types of programs I want to get started.
Fantastic. All right, and Thea is here. Thea is actually not on the board this year, but she is our Parks and Safety liaison for the city of Eugene, and has done an enormous amount of work to help us and continue those relationships.
So as Margaret says, I've been on and off the board since, I don't know, 2007. I've been in the neighborhood for the last 30 plus years. I wouldn't live anywhere else in Eugene. I love it. I love our parks. I love that I know my neighbors, and congratulations to all our new board members. I'm excited to see what you guys are doing, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Chris Horton, been a Whitaker resident officially for 3 years, but I grew up in Eugene. I moved here with my family when I was a kid. My parents still live here. I have a brother who lives here. I've got a brother up in Portland with his family. And after college, I moved to New York, did a career in the film business. I worked for a company that sold independent films at festivals like Sundance, movies like Little Miss Sunshine and Napoleon Dynamite. I was the assistant to the guy who ran the company for a couple of years. Helped him start a digital film distribution company where we supported a lot of independent filmmakers, and then moved to Los Angeles, where I joined Sundance Institute, which puts on the Sundance Film Festival. So I have 9 years of experience at a nonprofit, albeit one with a $50 million operating budget, and helped a lot of filmmakers, supported from Sundance with marketing and distribution grants. So I've got a lot of experience with grant writing and program management. And, my goal with being on the community council as a parent of 2 young kiddos is to make the neighborhood safe, livable, fun, and walkable for them, which includes our streets, our parks, our businesses. And I think one area that I'm looking to invest a lot of time in is business retention. What does it look like for the community council to be good stewards and ambassadors to our business community, and to let them know that they're part of the community and that there's avenues for conversation and collaboration with local businesses, and ideally to let them know that we want them here and that they're needed here. And so that's an area where I feel like I could devote good energy, and I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. We're excited to have you. And those are all great things. And, we all have goals. We would love to have a $5 million a year budget too. Wouldn't we, Doriandra?
50 million.
And so I would also just like to take a moment to introduce Julie. We're going to have her talk a little bit. But Julie has also agreed to be our interim secretary. And we are going to announce tonight or tomorrow that we will be holding a special election. According to our charter, that special election, we have to announce it for 2 months. So on June 12th, we will have a general meeting where we will have a special election for secretary, in which Julie Marie Bowman will be running to be part of the executive board. So we're really excited about that. Julie is also the chair of a committee and is responsible. She got an Arts in the Park grant with Thea this year. They worked together on it. I'm sorry? Go ahead, Julie. Can't hear you.
I thought I had it set to activate with spacebar. I'm still new to Google Meets. Hi, everybody. As Margaret said, my name's Julie. I'm a Whitaker resident since 2004. I've lived in Eugene since the early 80s. I grew up here. I own a business in the Whitaker as well. So I'm a resident, an owner, and a business owner. I started coordinating activities. Well, I've helped out with the Music in the Park series since the early 2000s, but I started leading coordination 2 years ago. And that's how I got involved with the WCC as a volunteer and with the Parks and Safety Committee. And last year I wrote a grant and I got $3,500 for this year and next year for the Music and Family Fun series at Scobert Gardens Park. I'm thrilled to be offering the musicians that I've been asking to play for free for me for years now. I'm thrilled to be offering them some money and to have money for promotions and printing and graphics design, all the other things. I plan to present my budget later tonight for the board's approval, hopefully, and answer questions about that budget if needed. I'm here because I want to make things better. I don't want to complain about what I think is wrong. There's plenty I think that's wrong with the city and the world, but I'd rather talk about how I can make things better, what I want to do positively. Both points of view are valid, but that's kind of my take. And this is my dog, Winston, who really wants to be in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, Winston. Okay. Dan? Can't hear you, Dan.
Okay, my turn. My name is Dan Ramsey. I've been in Eugene since 1978, and I've lived in Whitaker since '93 in my current home, which is just on the border of the Scobert Park, the back section of the park. I've been the treasurer of the Whitaker Community Council for probably 12 out of the last 16 years. There was a recent period when I wasn't treasurer. I've come back in the last couple of years just to assist with cleaning up the records, making the treasury sound and solvent. And my role is basically to double check that all the accounting is correct and that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that sort of thing. And my main interests in the community are, of course, what happens in Scobert Park and what happens to Scobert Park. Because I live in such close proximity to the park, and what happens there does impact me quite a bit. Of course, crime and homelessness in the community are major concerns, and they have been for a very long time. Since the mid-90s, we've been dealing with some of the very same issues. So there are solutions we know work, there are solutions we know don't work, and we've reinvented the wheel many, many times at the Whitaker Community Council. But since I've been here probably the longest of anyone at the WCC, I know a lot about the history of the organization and the community development efforts that have taken place over time. So I'm here to ask questions of, if any of you want to know what happened when or what to do if. I kind of write herd on the Whitaker Charter, just in case anyone has a question to interpret what it says we can and can't do, things like that. So that's me.
All right, thank you. And Sue, are you with us? Hi.
Hi, sorry about that.
It happens. It's all right.
Yeah, for some reason, having two computers next to each other doesn't seem to work very well. I don't know why, but it didn't. My name is Sue, and I've been around the neighborhood. Well, my partner and I have been around the neighborhood since the late 1980s. I was on the council quite a long time ago when we were battling to save Whitaker School. So I was involved in trying to keep the school here, which was, as we know, ultimately a failure, which unfortunately. I'm very concerned about climate change. in this neighborhood particularly, but in the city in general, especially the areas on the west end, because they have been surveyed as urban heat islands. I think this ties in really well with emergency preparedness. And actually, way back quite a while now, authored a study for the city, co-authored a study for the city on emergency preparedness in the face of climate change. So I would love to work on that issue and maybe tie in some other social equity concerns. That was the paper that I helped to author, was around that issue. I just graduated from the University of Oregon at 60 with a PhD in environmental sociology.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Steen probably deserves most of the credit for that. Anyway, so that's me, and hopefully we can work together. I am here to ask questions, not answer them.
Fantastic. And last but not least, of course, Doriandra, she has been with Whitaker Community Council for approximately 2.5, 3 years. She worked as a program coordinator and was a contractor for a long time until we had a meeting, OHA, myself, and Doriandra had a meeting, and they instructed us that she had been a contractor long enough and we could be in breach of losing our nonprofit status if we didn't do something about that and make her an employee for the OHA and for the grants that we get from them. So she actually is our first official employee. She's on a W-2 and is on payroll. So we're very excited and very proud to have her and all the work that she does. So Doriandra, go ahead, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you want.
Sure. Thank you. I'm just really grateful to be with the WCC. I'm from Eugene, and I wandered off, as most of us do. Lived in Arizona, California, Amsterdam, and then just kind of realized there's nowhere better than home. So I've been back in Eugene now for about 8 years. And when I came back, I was producing the Eugene Opera for a while and working at U of O and a lot of other kind of little nonprofits. But this, during the pandemic, I shifted to this work, and it really feels like work that matters. It's strengthening social safety and community, and that's really important. Right now, I'm not fortunate to live in the Whitaker, but I lived in the Whitaker in my 20s. I was a renter. I was actually unhoused, living in a VW van. And so you may have all seen me back in the late 90s or early 90s. I was passionately working for Greenpeace then, and we had a giant blow-up whale on the roof of the van that was almost bigger than the van. So if you remember that, that was me. So I'm glad to be here and just really excited about the work ahead. So, and the past. So.
Fantastic. All right. Did anybody leave anything out? Janet, nice that you could join us. How are you? Are you with us, Janet? I saw you just joined.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. So what we've done, Janet, is we're just we talked a little bit about board meeting procedures, about how we offer public comment at the beginning. That this, the board meetings are for board business. We bring up motions, talk about money, vote on specific things. But right now, since this is our first meeting of the 2024-25 board, we've asked for everyone to just make a brief introduction and something that they would like to see happen during their tenure as a board member.
Well, thank you. Well, my name Janet Ayers. I've lived in the Whitaker, off and on since 1962, my dad retired from the Air Force and we lived in a greenhouse on 7th Street, a greenhouse with, what do you call desert plants? So we were able to play in, not in a backyard, but in a abandoned greenhouse. And then I lived over on 5th and Polk, and now I live at off of North Madison Street. I'm an educator by trade. I taught elementary school in the Bay Area, done a lot of substitute teaching in Eugene, and did some bus driving just before I retired. What I'd like to see happen is, I would really like to see a quiet zone in the Whitaker. I'd like to see the urban forest up on the Chambers Connector. I'd like to see that groomed, and along Railroad Boulevard, I'd like to see some plantings to kind of camouflage the ugly rail yard they have there. And currently, I would like to see 2 additional things. I like to see a more active cleanup of, well, I think the city's starting to clean up the messes left on the streets. Brandon, can you get her, please? And recently, I've had a concern about diesel generators that are being used by small commercial. I live right by a commercial building that uses a very dirty diesel generator. And I'm under, I have some health issues, pulmonary health issues. So I'd like to see the city council through the neighborhood association address that for cleaner air in the community for those folks that are using backup generators that are diesel burning, both commercially, largely commercial use, because they spew out so much of the dirty remnants of diesel. And outside of that, I'm glad to be on, looks like a fine board. Thank you very much for being patient with me and getting logged in tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. Yeah, it's using the Google. Just let me apologize myself. Just to start, this is we've had like 2 Google meetings. That's it. So we're getting used to how it works and what to do. There are some things that are more beneficial about it, and change is always hard.
Yes. It was easier than I thought to get it logged in.
Okay, good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to be a board member, and what the difference is between a neighborhood association and a nonprofit. So I do believe, and don't quote me on this, Thea, maybe you can, I do believe that there are 12 neighborhood associations within the city of Eugene. Is that correct?
I have no idea, Margaret. Sorry.
I think that there's 12, and out of the 12, 3 are 501c3 nonprofits. That's it. We actually have been a nonprofit. This year is our 50th anniversary, along with every neighborhood association in the city of Eugene. They started neighborhood associations 50 years ago. When we started our neighborhood association, we also started, we became a nonprofit. And I'm sure as time goes by, Den would love to tell us stories about working to build the, I know that we did some work on Red Barn and helped sponsor to redo that building. And I know we did with the co-op. We worked with NORP, I think, and got some funding to do a lot of that stuff in the 70s. So, I'm sorry?
And NEDCO also, the Neighborhood Economic Development Corporation, which is now a big nonprofit in Springfield. They used to be located right down the street on around the corner from the Red Barn, I believe. Actually, their first office was in the Red Barn.
Okay. Yeah, so our work as far as being a nonprofit and getting grants and doing that is not new. And as Julie just pointed out, there's actually 23 recognized neighborhood associations. So right now, they're doing some changes. So we are recognized by the city, but we are not part of the city, if that makes sense. We get a budget. Up till now, we used to get a budget of $6,000 a year, which is about $500 a month, which I don't think, at least since I have been with the WCC, we've never really taken advantage of using much of that money. But what's going to happen on June 1st is that what we will do is we will send proposals. And one thing that we're going to be tasked with as a board is that they want us to propose a budget about what we want to do over the course of the year, to have a plan and what we're going to do to make that plan happen. And they will give us the money for that. I don't know if they're going to do it quarterly, monthly. They haven't gotten that far yet. But instead of just saying, hey, we'd like to do this or that as it comes, they want it planned ahead. And those are all things that we can do within the neighborhood. Those are things like for the ice cream social, which I'm sure everyone here is familiar with. There is a lot of gray area between what we do in the neighborhood for the neighborhood association and the nonprofit. Right now, we're working on disaster preparedness within the neighborhood, things that we're going to do down in the park. We're going to have some events. Those are definitely neighborhood association programs, but we also have grants for them. We have more than one overlapping grants to do some different things. So that's very exciting. There are a couple of things about being a 501c3 nonprofit. And it's really important. And I really suggest that you all watch the video. And I put in the notes that you start at about 10 minutes and then you just hear what Cordelia has to say. A couple of things is that we can, we're not a political organization. And we cannot endorse any candidate. We can't endorse a campaign. We can't endorse something that no political endorsements, because we're a 501c3 nonprofit. What we can do, like what we just recently did, is that we had a couple of candidates come and we gave them each equal time and they answered the same questions, and we provided a forum so that everyone could come and watch and they could make their own decision about what happens there. But even when you are not, if you decide that you want to comment about something, I had somebody walking by my neighborhood the other day and I started talking to them about a candidate, and we were talking about the Whitaker Community Council. And I said, whoa, I can't, I cannot make that comment as the chair. So don't. He started writing something down. I'm like, no. That's, we can't do that. Elliot, did you have a question?
Yeah, just trying to figure out, so we can still advocate for, say, our values, like we can endorse the petition to repair sidewalks over the
Correct. That's not
like
on the ballot. We're not voting on that. That's something that is a proposal.
Yeah. So
yes.
as an organization, we can still advocate for our values. We just can't endorse a specific individual or electors or a measure, say, on the ballot.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Like, I can't tell you, many of you probably know about star voting. I mean, they really love what they are doing because they have reached out to me probably 50 times, but we had, our meetings were already pre-scheduled. We had the election and they want to come and give a presentation, which they can. They could come to a WCC meeting. Hold on a second, Dan. I see you there. and they can give a presentation on what the benefits of doing star voting are, but we cannot push that as an organization. We can just give them a platform to share it with the neighborhood. What's up, Dan?
I think the rules more precisely are that we are allowed to advocate for causes like referendums. We can advocate for referendums. We can't spend a significant portion of our funds on lobbying for or against political issues. We can endorse political issues, but it's what we spend our money on. We cannot endorse candidates or political campaigns, but referendums and such are different.
Well, I talked to our lawyer, and I just know what our lawyer has told me, and I will recheck that with them to confirm. But one thing that they talk about in that video, and it's true, is that we follow the law.
Well, that is the law, Margaret. My understanding.
I'm just saying that I talked to our lawyer about it, Dan, and I'll ask them again.
Yeah.
I'll confirm exactly what that means. All right. Does that work for you? Okay, fantastic. And actually, Thea, star voting did not come and do voting for us. It was Andrew who was
No,
promoting.
Star
Andrew,
voting came to when Sam Hahn was chair and the meeting was held at the school.
oh, I don't know.
This
I
was
know
years
we
and
did
years
it when
ago, and
Ian
they did
won.
a vote to show it. They were learning how to do it, and they did a vote. This was years ago, Margaret.
Okay, yeah, and I know that Andrew did a star voting platform, but he did it because he was part of that organization. And when Ian was elected chair, that's what they used. But Andrew had set that up. So it's been around for a long time and is quite popular. And they do want to come to a meeting. But I will confirm on what exactly it is that we can endorse and not endorse with our attorney. If that works for everybody, just so we make sure that we're all on the same page.
Cool. Sounds good.
That's why we pay them.
Yeah.
What time is it? Are there any questions about that?
I don't
Because
think
any
so.
statements you want to make?
Just don't represent the WCC without board approval, I guess is the good rule of thumb.
It's a really good time to be a member of the board. We're starting to get more grants and money that are focused on our neighborhood itself, that are going to benefit all of the people that live here, the entire community. Where COVID was a life-changing things for many people. And I'm excited about a lot of the things that the next year has to offer. Also being a board member, sometimes, and I think it's important that we talk from the beginning about communication skills. And as we know from watching past meetings, Elliot, sometimes things can get a little heated, and they can get a little off kilter. But it's important to remember that from what I can see, everybody here in this meeting, we all come from different walks of life. We all represent different areas of our neighborhood, which is what makes the Whitaker incredible, is its diversity. So even though we may not always agree on everything that we talk about, let's just discuss it. Look at someone else's perception and think about what they have to say. And if we don't come to an agreement, we can always agree to disagree. And that's also why we vote. Everyone on the board has the same vote. It doesn't matter if you're an at-large member or if you're at the chair. Everyone it's like we're at a round table and everyone's vote is the same. Okay. And so, Dan, you want to explain to us what it means for a vote, for a quorum, and all of that?
Sure. So as per the charter, which are our operating instructions, we can have up to 15 board members. How many do we currently have? Does anyone know off the top of their head? Margaret, what do we have?
Hold on, I'll find out.
So anyway, a quorum is half of our current board members plus one. So for instance, if there are 7 board members, we would need 4 for a quorum. If there are 11 board members, we would need 6 for a quorum. And so board business cannot really be conducted because no votes can take place unless there is a quorum for a meeting, but you can have discussions, of course. Currently 10 board members, that means a quorum is 5.
So that means in order to have a meeting and be able to vote, we need 5 people to be here.
Right.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that we need to know about a quorum?
Oh, that's about it. I mean, quorum is only really functional for voting purposes, but of course you can discuss anything you like at any time. But for voting, a quorum is required. That's all. For
Okay.
action on the, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So we're going to move on with the agenda. And Thea, you're up first.
Great. Thank you, folks. So like I said, I don't know how many years I've been on and off the board, but I've been the parks and safety person for, I guess I started around 2007, possibly. And I started with trying to get park ambassadors along Maury Jacobs Park and to help our people understand the park rules, and also to keep it safe out in the park. We had a lot of prostitution and a lot of drug use. And it wasn't park ambassador, it was actually park police that came and helped. And they did not run people off. They were more like an ambassador. And when EPD lost all the officers they've lost over the last many, many years, I fought to get us park ambassadors, and they are much more gentler and a lot less scary to some of our unhoused. And they're very good about sharing what the rules are and what the rules aren't. And they apply to all of us, and they offer help. And so those people are out in the parks. And then I've also worked with the businesses over the last several years, trying to get it so that it's people feel comfortable going into their businesses, getting the trash picked up when they don't have time to go out and pick out the trash, getting a hold of Parks Public Works, just helping them be able to stay, because a lot of our businesses in our neighborhood hire the people that live in the neighborhood. Our neighborhood is super walkable. People like to walk to work, walk home from work. And so they're hiring a lot of our renters and a lot of our, they hire a lot of people from the mission. Several of our businesses in town do job trainings and things like that. And so trying to help them navigate some of the behaviors that we have that occur in our neighborhood that are more prevalent than in other neighborhoods. And so for over the years, I've just kind of worked with the city manager's office, Parks and Open Space, Chief Skinner, from EPD, Lane County Public Health. I don't know, there's a whole slew of people. Anyone who ever wants to take this over, you're more than welcome to. I will give you all the connections. Most recently, I just met a young woman at the Adopt a Block that Julie so wonderfully put together, who begged for our help. She's on the border between Washington, Jefferson, and Whitaker. She's in that kind of midland. She's in our neighborhood, I believe, but maybe she's in Washington, Jefferson, but she's having a lot of issues with prostitutions and drugs outside her house right now. And she's afraid to go outside at night. And they bought their home recently and they love the neighborhood. And so she reached out to me and said, is there any, so I'm going to see if I can get her some help. That's kind of what I've been doing. Does anybody have any questions? Dan,
Dan?
Where again does she live there?
she's in Madison.
About where in Madison?
She's in the Neverlands. I don't want to give her place away. She's very scared, Dan.
Okay,
So that is the other thing I do is I keep
sure.
people
sure.
anonymous and businesses anonymous.
Yeah,
And
well, there's a lot going on in Madison. I agree.
yeah, there's a lot going on in Madison and Monroe, those areas. So
Okay, Elliot, you have a question?
Yeah, Thea, what kind of levers or tools and connections we can use to help this person out? What would you recommend to us? And if you don't have a recommendation, where could we start potentially to help them
I've
out?
already contacted Chief Skinner.
Okay.
I do take him around our neighborhood about once every 2 months. He is out of town, so his assistant is supposed to be reaching out to me. And I will put them in contact together because I think it's better if it comes from the person. Okay. So they will be in contact together. Especially when someone wants to be anonymous, it's easier if they can talk directly to, I figured out who does what job. And then probably in the last 5 years, I feel like the biggest accomplishment is we now have public works, park ambassadors, parking ambassadors, housing service officers, neighborhood service officers. These are all people that work with our unhoused and our housed and our businesses. And Lane County Public Health public health isn't quite there yet, but all these other people are finally talking to each other, and they actually meet once a week and say, here are our hot spots. Here's an individual who we think is ready for housing. Can we get them into housing? Where can we go? This person needs a place to camp. Where can they go? This person cannot follow any rules at all, and they're creating all sorts of issues. What do we need to do here? How can we help? Because it's not helping them. It's not helping the businesses. It's not helping the residents. And as this young woman who came to us, she's very concerned because she's seeing trafficking of young women, and she's seeing trafficking of young women out of the camps. And so that was what was really disturbing to her. So that's why I've reached out to them. And then also, Sue and Steen, this is really important, and Den for you, is holding Emily Proudfoot and the parks, talking to you folks who live right next to Scoburg Gardens, is they keep putting off anything to do to keep that park green, and really holding their feet to the fire because they've shoved any kind of renovation aside. And I was really bummed that they didn't listen to you better. And I'm still having those conversations because you're affected by what happens there. So I don't think that's right that they just go in and go, we're going to do this. So, and then our dog park, we finally got a dog park. It took, I want to say 13 years of asking, but we have a dog park now. So anyone have any questions?
Is there any updates that you have for us other than what you've given us already?
No, I don't have any other updates. Oh, they have started their night patrols and trying to help people understand what park rules are around all the parks. And that does involve letting people know that there are places to be. So I think they started it on April 1st.
Okay. Steen, you have a question? There you go.
Thank you. I just want to. Okay, I'll try again. I just wanted to say that Emily Proudfoot was given a copy of the drawing that I did for the park proposal for Scobert Park that was generated after we had a neighbor meeting in the park. So they were given that input with the scale drawing. But I haven't heard anything and I haven't seen anything. So I'm not sure what they're up to.
I will ask again because it sounded like they blew you off, which was not very polite.
Well, she really wanted my drawing, my original drawing, because that's all I had to begin with. And I told her she could not have my original drawing, but I would provide her with a copy, which I did. So I hope that they are taking it into account. I don't trust that they are. So it's one of the reasons that I want to follow up on that and find out what's going on. We don't need more concrete.
No, we
No,
don't.
and it sounds like we are all in agreement on that. So maybe we should invite them to a general meeting. Den?
Yeah, thank you. Somebody's feeding back. Okay, sounds good now. Yeah, I'm extremely concerned about what's going on in Scobert Park, and I've been watching the situation very carefully. And I actually presented Parks and Open Space with a Freedom of Information Act request for their contract with Cameron McCarthy, who's been running the development of Scobert. For them, Parks and Open Space doesn't do this. They contract with firms like Cameron McCarthy and let them run it. And they're not really riding herd on Cameron McCarthy. They've done a very messy job. They're not providing the deliverables on time. They're not actually fulfilling their contract correctly. They seem to have generated designs off of their own bat, based on their own ideas. Two of them, even before the first public meeting took place, and they presented those at the first public meeting. Some of you may remember that they already had drawings at the first public meeting. It appears that they had a conversation at this time last year with a select handful of Whitaker residents, us not being among them. And they claim that that's how they generated part of their ideas for the design. So when I saw Steen's design at a meeting in the park, I thought that was the best that I had seen. And it was a very, very good plan. And so I wanted to get that into the hands of Emily. If she was going to be making decisions about changing the park so dramatically, she needed to see Steen's drawing. She said that Steen wouldn't share it, and I asked her to just simply ask her if you can have a copy of it, because you guys need to be considering this. And so finally that did happen, and I'm glad it did, because Steen's plan is far better than the other two. But it remains to be seen what Parks and Open Space is actually going to do, given the fact that the Eugene is under budgeted by, I think it's 12 to 15 million this year. They may not have the funds to ever do any, recreation of Scobert Park, and it's going to be a multi-million-dollar project, is my understanding. So I'm not sure they have the funds. They keep putting off the timeline for a variety of reasons. But thus far, they've made an absolute mess of things. And Thea, I actually wanted to chat with you off camera, so to speak, about Kelly Shadwick and some of the other, players behind the scene who are making a mess of things. So anyway, that's what I know about Parks and Open Space effort to redo Scobert, and I will continue to ride herd on that. I'm in pretty frequent communication with Emily, asking her for documentation, asking her for verification. And it doesn't look good. It feels really like there's really bad juju going on to me. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I will reach out to her again. It does not feel good to me either. I feel like they're doing some strange things, and that they're not honoring the residents that live around the park. The people that actually use the park. It doesn't feel right. And I know Emily's been in and out, so I will reach out to her again. And then Steen, if you want, I can include you in the email, and Den, and say, look, these people need to be, the only thing I did was get them here, because they put it off again, and they put it off again, and they put it off again. And Julie needs to be part of that. So I will see if you guys want her to come to a board meeting, I'm happy to say, or to a general meeting, happy to say, hey, we need somebody from Parks and Open Space. And Kelly Shadwick is not the person to have come.
Sure.
She doesn't answer questions, and she's a nice person. She just doesn't have the answers.
Could I suggest that we get our own stuff together on Scobert, so that we have a joint perspective on where we want to see it go before we invite Emily to come in and give a presentation.
Yeah, you folks tell me when you want her and I'll see if I can get her.
I think Sue's hand is up.
Oh, Margaret, you're also on mute.
Thank you, Elliot. So we are running over. We have an agenda that we need to stick to, and we're going way over. This is definitely a subject that we'll come back around to. Sue did have her hand up for a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and take Sue's question, and then we're going to move on to Julie. And thank you, Thea.
Yeah, thank you both, Dan and Thea. I appreciate it. I just wanted to ask if either one of you, well, I don't know if you knew that Steen had furnished that drawing, but okay, so maybe one thing that could be asked is if Emily received it, if she has it. That's it.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you, folks. Margaret, I'm out of here. I'm not on the board anymore. Bye.
Thea, thank you, and thanks
work,
for all
guys.
that you do. Okay. So Julie, updates on the Art in the Park grant, and I think that you have a budget to share.
Yeah, so I'll be quick as I can and help us catch up on some time. I did write, with Thea's help, a grant application last fall. We were granted $3,500 for the Art in the Parks, from the Art in the Parks program for our programming in Scobert Gardens this summer, and an additional $3,500 for next year. That'll happen at Scobert unless renovations happen, in which case we'll relocate to Sladden Park. The city has approved my budget, and I'd like to present it to the board for approval also. This grant is 70% funded right now, and the balance of 30% will be funded, the city says, within 30 days of my submission of our final accounting. So we'll work with that. We'll see if I can share my Google Docs screen right now with y'all. Okay, so can everybody see that?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm starting with $3,500. Here's my proposed budget approved by the city, looking for approval from the board. I am allocating $500 for program personnel or administration. This is going to pay Kelsey, our social media manager, for social media posting and graphics design related to our series. Then we have $1,400 allocated to artist fees. I've got 6 performance dates this year. All of them are scheduled. We start on July 18th. We're moving to Thursday nights instead of Wednesday nights, as has been traditional, and that's because of board meetings. We want the board to be able to attend. We don't want the community, the neighborhood, to have to choose between our council meetings and concerts. So that starts on Thursday, July 18th, and continues through about the end of August. $850 is allocated to supplies and materials. Some of this is long-term use items that pretty much volunteers have been bringing to supply to the artists. So these are going to be durable items that can be used long-term. Also, we have giveaways, things that we've asked for donation, or again, volunteers have brought: water, sunscreen, prizes. We have an ice cream vendor who comes for our final event of the summer, the Ice Cream Social and Yard Games in the Park Day. And sounds like there might be a chance of covering that ice cream vendor with other grant funds. We do have funds here to pay for her. Promotion and marketing is $750. That's going to be printing of durable signs that I hope to use throughout the summer and hopefully for more than 1 year. Paid advertising to be determined. I've talked with Doriandra about mailing a postcard with our schedule to every address in the Whitaker. Other paid advertising, and like I said, signage and flyers. So that takes care of our full budget of $3,500. The city does give us the freedom to reallocate that budget as we wish. So as long as we are using that money to put on and promote our Art in the Parks program, we're free to spend that money as we like. So if we don't need $850 for supplies, for example, then we can go ahead and bring it to other things. Anybody have questions?
Yeah. So just so that everybody understands what we do is that we make a motion. So I make a motion that we approve Julie's budget. And then we have discussion about the budget.
Okay.
So I would like to say, Julie, this is the first time that I've seen your budget, and I am so happy that almost half of it goes to the artists. I mean, that is a fantastic thing. And I know how hard that you've worked in the past on making that happen.
I can bring that budget back if people want to see it while we talk. I took it away so that I could see y'all's faces, but maybe Elliot would like to see it back. People would like to see it back.
Yes,
Let's see if
please.
it'll come back again.
Doriandra, I have a question that you can answer, perhaps. Are you here?
Here it is back. I don't know if I can show it all at once.
I
'cause
am
that's
here.
pretty
Yes.
much all of
Well,
it at once.
my question is that is there with our postcards that the city pays to send out, does one of the times that we send them land on a time that the city would actually pay, and we could use this for half of our postcard?
That would be tricky because then we'd compromise when we need it for.
We could definitely fit this onto the newsletter, right? How often do we send out physical newsletters, or just our digital one once a month?
Yeah, we do the digital one once a month, but so we have is it once a quarter, Briandra, or twice a year?
With the new changes, remember we had to like ask for it first. And
right, yeah, they want it, but I do
need it
think
in a proposal format first, and so that's why it's confusing as to like. I think the short answer is yes. How we get there might be a little tricky, but yeah.
So just to bring everybody up to speed right now, the way, and I see you, Julie, right now, the way that the city does it is that, and I believe it's 2 times a year, that we send out a postcard. The WCC and the city pays for it. And we send out a postcard about what we're doing, about what our schedule is, about our meetings, any updates, like, what we're doing with the grant or whatever. And they send it to every address within the Whitaker. So that may change as we go into how this new how our budget's going to change. Julie, I think that you had your hand up first.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let everybody know that as Art in the Parks grant recipients, we're going to get a lot of promotion from the city. I know that they are going to send the full schedule of Art in the Parks events, which will include us, to every household in the city of Eugene that contains an elementary school or a middle school student. So that alone is going to be physical advertising that goes to each home. We are already on their website. I need to update with information of each band and links to the bands. So we're going to be presented there. We're going to be in the recreation guide, which is available digitally, and then people can pick up physical copies. They don't mail a physical copy to every home anymore, but people can get them physically. So we're going to get a bunch of free advertising from the city with this.
Fantastic.
Okay, then maybe the promotion and marketing budget line.
I'm sorry, Elliot. Chris had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
Julie actually answered my question, which was, what's what can we ask of the city, or what's the city doing to promote, which is wonderful. I guess, one other question would be, in terms of the social media, support that's within the budget, is that going to be posts from the Whitaker Community Council Facebook page primarily, or what channels or avenues does social media entail to reach a wide audience to get good turnout and engagement?
So I'm not actually sure what the answer to that is. Right now, Kelsey is focusing on our May 11th disaster resiliency event, and I'm going to start to focus with her after that. Certainly our social media on Facebook, but the Eugene Weekly, what's that neighborhood app? Anyway, we're trying to get out more than Facebook is my point.
Elliot?
Yeah, so I wanted to discuss the social media budget item and then also the promotion and marketing. For social media, I think I haven't been super engaged with our Instagram presence, and where we kind of just announce things that are happening that most of our audience already knows. I was wondering if maybe we could direct some of this budget to filming our first performance and then uploading clips of those performances for the 5 following ones, and that might be more impactful than infographics saying there's a concert in the park. Rather, show us the community engaging with the concert, how much fun we're having. Oh, I can't believe you missed the first one. You really should go to the second one, that kind of thing. I'd love to see more of that on our social media presence rather than infographics and board meeting tomorrow. We already know that, things like that.
I love that. Brian Cutian is the fellow who opens our series by long-standing 20-plus year tradition. He is funny, he is engaging, he's a great performer, he brings people with him. It's the week after country fair. He usually has some spoken word, he has a little comedy, he does a lot of singing. It's very engaging and he has a good following. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, potentially we could reach out to some local filmmakers or people who just enjoy, filming performances. Ask them, hey, bring your camera, record, and drop your footage to a Dropbox, and we'll edit it and upload it for our next promotion for round 2, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Okay.
So we've done some things like that. Not exactly like that, but we've done filming. We had commercials. We had things during COVID, and from my knowledge, to actually hire someone to do that, it's quite expensive, and it may be our $3,500 budget.
Yeah.
However, asking people to come and just do it themselves and drop it into a Dropbox per se is a great idea, and that would cost no money. What do you think about that, Chris? Do you know anything about what we're talking about?
I'm following along. I think that sounds good.
Yeah, I don't think we need professional level anything for this. It's more, we do just need video on our social media. We need photos. The thing about influencing people, it takes some personality. I feel like the Whitaker social media is lacking any personality, and this might be a way to get that spark back and that community back.
Okay, so what you're talking about, and don't misunderstand me, but it doesn't have a whole lot to do with our budget per se, it is a marketing idea, correct?
What I wanted to say, don't blow the budget on generic infographics and ads that we won't see. Try and hold that budget, work with the city. I feel like we'll get a bunch of native and free advertising. Don't go crazy before the first show. Wait for the first show to go, word of mouth, and then after that we can promote the 5 after that. Yeah.
Okay, are there any more comments on the budget that's been presented? Do we have a second? Okay, Dan seconded it. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. We need to raise our hand long enough so that Julie can count who all is said yes.
Margaret, I don't know if I know how to count with this format because I can't see
Well,
most of y'all. I'm looking at my screen.
all right, hold on a minute.
Oh
Let
wait,
me-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 raised hands.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. Wait
I
a
guess
minute.
plus,
1,
plus you, Margaret.
2, 1, 2. I can't.
I think I have 6 if
And
you were counted, Margaret. I see
I'm up.
Elliot, Des, Sue, Steen, and Chris voting yes. And that's 5 in the chat.
And Janet as well.
And Janet as well. So there's 6. Margaret, if you're a yes, then that would be 7.
I'm a yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 in the chat, and evidently Janet, someone said also.
Yep.
All right. And so do we have any nays? You all, would you take your hands down? That everyone that voted yes? Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any nays. And do we have any abstentions? So, Mr. Horton, I don't think you voted. Is yours yay, a nay, or an abstention?
Oh, I had my hand raised.
Chris
Did you?
was yes.
So I think everyone voted yes, Julie.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that passes unanimously. Fantastic. Okay. I'm excited
So
to see what you have going.
I'll take my budget down, though I did share the link in the chat for anybody who'd like to look at it again.
Thanks.
Okay, we are running a little bit behind, but Doriandra, you're next.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. I think, yeah, maybe, well, since we're behind, let me see what's the most important here. I've got a pretty big list. Why don't we start with the new grant? So this is the Healthier Together Oregon CHIP grant, we're calling it. The CHIP stands for Community Health Improvement Plan. And this is a grant that we just got. It's going to be a reimbursement model, which is a little bit trickier, but I met with OHA today, and what I'll be doing is giving them accounting at the end of every month. So I'll start this April 30th because they were slow to start the grant. So where you can bill from April 1st moving forward. Fed money is very slow to come back to us. So I'm anticipating from what OHA is anticipating that we'll be able to receive reimbursements in about 68 weeks for each cycle that we, or each month that we report on. So this is good news in that we're not like having to wait until October to be paid back from April. So that's a great update. The rollout plan for this, I'm started a couple days ago. I'm writing the program, be acquiring the materials, partnerships, and resources. I'll be working with Thea to kind of develop the curriculum. And sorry, this is the grant that is for educating folks on small bucket gardening. So this is kind of incentivize our renters and people that are in apartments to address food security on their own terms. So we'll be getting a big donation from Home Depot or Jerry's. I think we decided we'd go with Jerry's at the public health and safety meeting. So my plan is to get us going at the disaster resiliency event with a table. We'll do that for May 11th. And then I'm trying to get us space at the Whitaker Community Market for four weekends. We'll start on, I think our public health and safety meeting suggested we start on 6/9. So we'll go 6/9, 6/23, and then 2 weeks in July for a total of 5 public events where we'll be actually distributing the buckets, the organic starts, and then the curriculum that we develop. And by curriculum, I mean like really cool, easy peasy, even laminated cards or nice cards that talk about. Oh, thank you, Sue. That's awesome. We can set the stuff in her driveway. That's great. That'd be a great place to store stuff the night before too, because it's going to be a lot of heavy stuff with the soil and all the stuff. So, but curriculum cards, kind of like little things that people can take home with their buckets that, show what kind of plants love to be planted together, and just basic gardening tips so that people stay excited about what they're doing and not just take home a bunch of stuff and then kind of put it to the side. So let me try to share this budget. This budget has been approved by OHA, and it is on its way now to the Oregon. Let's see, what is that?
Can you take a minute and explain to us how that works when we first get a grant?
Sure.
What you do with the budget?
Sure. So when I write a grant, I have to create a program and a work narrative, and then I have to build a budget for it based on what I think we're going to be able to do. Can you all see this?
And that budget goes to OHA before it comes to us for approval, correct?
Correct, right. So to get the grant, and this is pretty exciting. We're actually only one of 8 organizations in Oregon that got this grant. So I'm really proud of it.
Who wrote this grant?
What?
Who wrote the grant?
I did this one. Yeah, this is.
Congratulations, Dorandra.
Thank you. It's really fun. This was a tough one, with so many people competing for it. But can everybody see the screen? I can't see you now. Can you all see this?
Yes, sorry.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay. So what we're looking at is something that's already been approved by the state of Oregon, and then now it's on its way to the big, there it is, the Office of Contracts and Procurement. So this is what they expect us to do, but it's always important to remember that I'm just designing this in a vacuum kind of by myself. And so there is wiggle room. The general rule of thumb is that we can navigate funds up to 25% out of categories. So if we all decide, as we're going along with the program that, hey, let's change something, we have some wiggle room. But asking for you to approve this today with the understanding that we have to kind of stay in the parameter of the original grant process. So if that makes sense. So what we've got is it is a 6-month time frame. So I've got wages to do the program development, to write the grant, to manage it, to do all the reports, all the accounting that goes back to our deliverables and expenditure reports. We've got our social media manager in here for 6 months of community engagement and event builder services. So she'll be doing her social media work as usual, and then also making some neat flyers and posters, which I love to kind of put them around the Whitaker and Red Barn, and to kind of get more physical kind of noting of what we're doing. And then we'll have our bookkeeper, Bookie Lynn, forgive me, her name is Vicki Lynn. So we have 6 months of her work on this too. And when you see these numbers, they may not make sense because they are being braided with our other existing grants. So I have a really complicated, mind-altering, bendy, big, massive new WCC grant I'm working on, a grant budget, which will show how we're pulling from each grant to meet each requirement for month, for whether we're staffing or community engagement, payroll, all that stuff. But we don't have time to go there today. So we're going to give ourselves $200 for office supplies. We always do that for printer ink and just things we need. And again, we may not spend that because we also have that funding elsewhere. I'm really advocating us to travel. And so I'm always putting something in here for travel. This would let us take staff or board members to some of the Lane County farms and seed banks and kind of interact with our partners in this, which are the Willamette Farm and Food Coalition. Again, we may not use it. If we don't, we'll move it into some other category. These are our subcontractors. So we'll be renting space from Whitaker Community Market. we'll be buying the organic seeds and starts. And then for this, I think I've over budgeted here. Again, we'll probably move it around within that 25% parameter. We had a really great graphic artist that did our disaster resiliency stuff that you'll start seeing rolling out and finally getting that out. And so this was kind of the idea for those neat cards where we're communicating, what plants to plant together and whatnot. We were also hoping that we would get the community garden plot. I submitted into the kind of lottery for a big plot, 2 different locations, obviously the Whitaker one, and then what was the other one? The Skinner Farm, but we got neither. I think that they're hoping for individuals rather than large groups. So some of that money was going to be spent for there in terms of having our signage and things that we needed for community gardens. Then we're moving on to the gift cards. This is a great part of OHA grants. They are so supportive in incentivizing our programs, and it used to be such that they were very strident about, well, you can only buy from Walmart or, Target, but I'm just really proud that we kept chipping away at them. And so now we have capacity to really buy gift cards only for our community businesses, which makes sense. We can't just have people expect to walk to Walmart. And so we'll be focusing on Backyard Farmer since they were partners with us in the past, and it's very applicable to this project. And then we'll be working with Rexius to get soil amendments and whatnot. So then we've got a last category here of indirect costs, which are an excellent thing for us because this covers things that we need programmatically but are not part of a deliverable. So we will be having this money at the end of the grant. What is not spent with that, we're able to kind of fund into other places. So our total funding on this grant is $25,000. My numbers only came to $24,970, but again, we can spend up to $25,000. So any questions on that or?
No, it looks great.
Okay. All right.
Sue?
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, it all looks good, the budget, and you clearly have been in this process for a long time. So please, excuse me if I'm stepping on your toes. I'm curious if you approach Huerto de la Familia or Grassroots Garden or Agrarian Sharing Network or the OSU Master Gardeners, just because they also, a lot of them are budgeted for, outreach like Huerto. And it seems like they might have connections within the community that we don't know about, but you may have already done this. So please excuse me if I'm, going too far here.
No, it's. Oh, we got to back. Can you mute Sue? Maybe that'll stop it. Okay, there we go. I have to get back to where we are. Now I can see you all again. Okay, I was just talking to us budget there. Thank you. And yes, I think, again, like developing a grant is so weird because you're just kind of like planning an imaginary thing. This is the fun part now that we have the funds, and this is the input I so value from the board because anything that we can contribute and partner essentially with others, we will, and we can. So thank you. I will start reaching out, and I'm trying to kind of braid some of this element into our disaster resiliency. So I'm hoping like God, you said their name, the preservers, master food preservers, I think, out of OSU. Yeah, I'm trying to get them to like come and talk at one of the Whitaker community markets about preserving food. So we'll start to like do those neat partnerships as we get a little bit further. So excellent. Thank you.
I have one comment to make too, just generally speaking on all of the grants that we have received since COVID, we do our best to keep as much money as we can in the Whitaker. If there's a Whitaker-based business that offers what we're looking for, then that's where we spend our money. Because if we spend our money here, it stays here. And we do our best to support the community itself. We did that with the housing grant, with all of that. Although there are many times when we have to reach out, and I think it's great to network with other organizations as well.
Yeah, it's really important because community-based organizations are just the heart of our action and our commitment and the success. So thank you for that, Sue and Margaret. Okay, let me jump on real quick here. So we're good with that budget for now. I'll start.
Well, so are you?
Oh,
is that you're
yeah,
done with that budget?
I'm
So
done. Yeah,
I'll make a motion that
Thank you.
we pass Doriander's budget. Is there any more discussion about it?
Yeah,
Elliot?
just really fast. I'm curious, are we developing any type of curriculum within this program? Or I wasn't sure if that was budgeted. I didn't see. I saw that we have an artist making designs. Is the $200 office supplies our printing budget as well if we want physical curriculum cards? Okay, just trying to figure out who's developing the curriculum. Is that just volunteer based, or are we hiring an expert to do that? Or okay.
No, Thea taught that in her. She was a school teacher and has a degree in curriculum, master's degree, I believe. So, yeah, Thea will be my point person on developing any kind of literature and curriculum that we develop, and that is she's my lead on that. So
awesome. Great. Yeah. Okay, that answers my question there. I'm ready.
Skilled, but she's gonna help us. So
I'm ready for a vote then.
Great. Do we have any other questions? Do we have a second?
Second.
Elliot seconds. Julie. Sue seconds. Oh, sorry, Sue. Elliot beat you to it. So all those in favor? I think you can see us all now. You don't get a vote yet, Julie.
Oh, okay.
You got to wait.
Got it. No worries.
Well, so your hand goes down after a minute, huh? Does it?
Seems to, yeah.
And Steen, do we have your vote?
Oh, she stepped out.
Okay. So we will, Sue, what do you think? Should we put Steen as an abstention?
I'd say so. Oh, she's back. Great.
Okay, great. So Steen, there's a motion on the floor, and we're just waiting to see how you vote to pass Doriander's budget.
I'm gonna have to abstain right now.
Okay. Keep going, Doriander. What's next?
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay.
So, yes, so that budget passes. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Excellent. The next thing I want to ask for on, let's see, let's go back to grants. I'm trying to hurry here. The OREM, which is the Oregon Resiliency Emergency Management Office grant, I'm almost finished on, and I just wanted to share some of the updates. Our public health and safety meeting a couple weeks ago, folks were super thinking and kind of helped create a section of, or 8 locations that then I was able to take back to the city and ask for. And this, for the body of this grant is for resiliency and emergency planning. So what this looks like is it's these complex trailers, and the trailers are 40-foot long trailers, and they are completely packed with everything we need to take care of 250 people. I'll share the screen now with you, just so many of you haven't seen this yet. And it's a huge ask of the city, but they are excited. And we had 4 locations approved, and I'll go over those in a second, but just for everyone to catch up, these 40-foot long Conex trailers will be full of everything we need for a deployment in an emergency. So we're, as you can see down the list here, we've got shelving, electrical, there's generators. I know we hate generators, but when there's no other power, there's solar panels, solar supply, field deployable tents and canopies, water, food, tons of pallets of MREs. There is security that's in this so that the unit is safe. I'll also be asking for fencing around it, which is a bummer, but it might be an extra security measure. It'll come with satellite broadband, cellular communication, dehumidifiers inside to keep the trailer's content safe. There'll be propane, sanitation tanks, on and on and on. So anyway, these are these huge kind of typed packages. And if we got this grant, it would come with more than just that. It would be also community engagement resources so that we could do full-scale training, the shakeout training, staffing. There's a whole list of other things we can add to it. So that's the takeaway on the grant. It's almost done. And what the recommendation came back from the city when I asked them, I was trying to kind of get them to say up front, like, okay, we'll play ball with you. In other words, looks like we've already got some questions. You want to go ahead? I'm not sure.
Yes, Sue, do you have a question? Sue? Oh, okay. Hi. Janet, you have a question?
Let's see. I'm down to 5% power, but I just want to know where these would be stored at, the Connex boxes.
Okay, so the city has approved or tentatively approved 3 of the locations. The one on 7th Street between Washington and Jefferson, the Public Works Park and Open Spaces maintenance lot over on Roosevelt, then the area near the Skinner Farm and Safe Sleep sites, which we already have a really neat presence in. We were able to put the free wall there along the bike path, and then we also donated 2 of the hands-free sinks, these big stainless steel sinks that we had commissioned and made. So we already have a lot of WCC projects going in there. So that's my vote. I hope that we get that one. And then
Will these be split location-wise or all one place?
it just depends on what the city will allow us to do, because there's siting considerations. There has to be a concrete pad laid and so on and so forth. So some of these locations would only have room for one of the trailers, which kind of makes sense because then they're spread out so people can walk to them closer. But
one concern I have, if I could throw it in, if it's at that point, I'm getting low on my power, but
Okay.
the crime activity and the efficacy of crime, making sure they're not broken into, that they are very well protected, so for emergency use. And I'm concerned about the locations and the security of those. And that's about all I have. And I'm about ready to burn out my battery.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input on that.
Thank you.
The 4th location, and probably the best, would be the Monroe Street 4J parking lots. And that would be the best case scenario because we'd have all 3 of them in one place, which makes security issues and deployment probably the easiest, but again, it takes away from having them spread out so more people can access them quicker. So there's a lot to be done, but I just was thrilled that the city finally responded. It took a lot of like poking, and the conversation is going to be vast and go on for quite some time, because it's not only like they have to be involved, but our fire, EMS, law enforcement, public works, county emergency, like all these different groups will have to understand the impact and help us sort it out. So I was firmly recommended from the city to go ahead and just apply for it, which is kind of a mixed bag because it's so much work to do this application and then if we get it and we have no place to put them, it's not kind of the best for our portfolio. It doesn't, it's not the greatest thing to do to get a grant and then say, oh, we can't take it from you. So but I feel like given the conversations I had with the city, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that if we got it, they would work for us. And it's interesting to note that the only other community or even group really trying so far that I am aware of is the Bethel School District for this program. So we'd kind of be pioneers in it if we got the feather in our hat, and it may be something that, again, the federal funds would keep moving if we start as the first placemaker of it.
How
Janet?
much is the grant?
Yeah, I'm fading out, but I wanted to thank everyone for the meeting. And I'll make sure I have my cord charged up, my battery charged. And
Okay.
thank you for your efforts on the grant writing. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Janet.
you, Janet.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Briandra, how much is the grant?
Well, the typed packages, it's I won't know until I've done all the steps, but it would probably be up to about 400,000 to 500,000, but it's not even a monetary thing the way I'm seeing it. It's having these permanent emergency hubs for the community, which is, those, each of them are about 140,000, but that's what they're really advocating. They want us to have these, that's the purpose of the grant, is these deployable resilience hubs. And, the way that OREM is looking at it too, is that these should be places where there's continuity for community. Like we would have our disaster resiliency events around them so that people in the community become used to coming to them and learning how to charge their phones and having community meetings, talking about our plan, that kind of thing. So they would become like a really permanent thing on the landscape. And OREM would also be sending out people every year to kind of check in with us to see how the maintenance is going, what we need. So it is a really huge longevity plan. I see Elliot.
Yeah, that was my question about maintenance. This would be a huge upfront capital expenditure, amazing assets for the community. I'm sure we would have really wanted this during the ice storm. Hopefully we can have it for the next one. Is there any continuing funding after we get the initial grant for maintenance, or is it kind of on our own?
Yeah, thanks. Good question. It's this grant would be a couple years out. We may not even see them land for another year or two because contractors have to be developed and all the siting stuff. In the grant, they do ask that, how we would maintain the space. But by asking for the things that we need to maintain it, I feel like we would ensure longevity, such as like the security system, the fencing if we needed it. So yeah, there's a lot of contingencies, and your question is so good. I think like one of the answers I'm putting in the grant for this question of longevity would be to really be mobilizing our local CERT teams to empower them to be the first deployment resource for them. And, again, by using this as a frequent community space, we would ask our Whitaker CERT leadership to be kind of those main people that maintain it, check on it, and so on and so forth.
Okay,
Fantastic. Do you have anything else?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Elliot. Okay. Let's see, where are we at? 8:41. Let's table that for now, but I just wanted to give the update. I was gonna talk on and on about this cool disaster event, but just look for that in social media. We'll be really pumping that out, and we've got tons of great partners solidified. My last big ask of the board tonight would be to consider a membership with the Nonprofit Association of Oregon. I went 2 weeks ago to one of their conferences in Ashland, and it was an incredible learning experience. So there are over 350 nonprofits from the state of Oregon there, and just the wealth of information and resources available to us if we considered a membership with them would be really valuable. For instance, the conference, was $325 to attend. Best case scenario would be that Margaret had come, our bookkeeper had come, anybody from the board, because we really needed to conquer and divide. There were so many workshops and learning opportunities that I was kind of frantic, running from pinpoint to point. By being in membership with the Nonprofit Association, those conference rates are cut in half. So it's like everything they offer then goes to half price, and then we would have really valuable help. Like right now, I'm trying to develop our employee handbook, our HR, and all those things would be just ready at our fingertips. So if we'd want to consider that, the budget that we have right now for operating would engender a membership of $175 a year. So I'm happy to share that. Go ahead, Margaret.
So is that grant funds that will pay that $175? So which grant are you thinking about taking that money from?
Well, this would be that classic situation. Oops, I started sharing that. But that's the page. This would be this kind of clear as mud term, indirect expenses from grants.
Ah, okay.
Right. This is something that is not implementing the actual program that the grant is about, but it's part of our overall portfolio of what we need to implement all of our grants. So this is a classic example of indirect expense. So my proposal would be we would probably use that because our highest bucket of funding right now is in the OHA grant for disaster resiliency. We have 2,700. No, I'm sorry. That's the other grant. We have over 3,000 in that direct expense. So this would be a great example to pull from that one.
Okay.
So if
any discussion about that? Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I'm all in favor of joining more organizations, especially if we're building out handbooks and if we're building out a framework of a nonprofit that wants to grow. There's resources out there we can just pull as a template and make them our own. No point in reinventing the wheel. It does also speak that we're taking this from indirect grant money, that we don't have that donations baseline to just say $175, no problem. We don't actually have that in the general fund to just spend. We have to pull it from a grant. So that's something I want to work on, where we actually have that flexibility we don't have to tap a grant fund for indirect expenses. We just can cover that because the community funds us, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. One thing that and this is still a learning game, and we still sometimes, you know how you can have a conversation with someone and you each can say the same thing, you just say it differently. So sometimes it takes a little bit to be able to meet in the middle. So every single grant that we have that comes from OHA, CDC, FEMA, we've had grants from all of them. There is a percentage anywhere from 10 to 20. Is that right, Durandra?
They're raising it higher, but everything we've had thus far has only been 10. I was able to
10% of that money
for CDC
goes automatically into indirect expense. 10% of every grant that we get from I think it's maybe not from the city, per se, like the art in the park, but from all of the big organizations that we work for. So even if we had more donations and more funding, me personally, I would rather see us, because it's regarding grants, because it's on the nonprofit side, because that's what Briandra does, is she manages our nonprofits for us. It makes sense that that money would come from the nonprofit, and whatever we did for donations would go back into the community from us. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I suppose I'm just coming from the point of view where I think of indirect expenses still being applicable to the grant. Say if Doriander's computer all of a sudden stops working and we need to buy an $800 computer. That comes from indirect expenses. We had no idea we would have to buy a new computer.
Yeah, well, we did that 6 months ago.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
We did.
But it came from the grant. So are you making a motion, Elliot, that we accept?
No, I'm just talking. I'm
saying, do you make a motion that we join the nonprofit association?
Yes, I think we should join more associations. I motion that we join the nonprofit association, pay the membership fee, and we use funds that we have available. Yep.
Great. Is there a second? Sue seconds it. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And there's still 5 of us, so we can vote.
Yep.
Okay, Doriandra,
Thank you,
sorry,
guys.
Chris?
Yeah, I was just making a joke. We have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
We have a quorum.
It sounds so official.
We're going to talk about something here in a minute before we go, but Doriandra, do you have anything else?
No, I was going to share our profit and loss and stuff from Vicki Lynn. Our bookkeeper should be here tonight, and in the future she'll always present those details for us. She had a long-standing vacation planned way before we even hired her. So she's in Hawaii right now, and if it looks like Den is off the meeting anyway, so I was going to have him go through her reports. Let's wait if everyone's okay, and we'll get on with our agenda, and we'll have Vicki Lynn next month. Is that okay with all?
Sure.
Okay.
That's great.
All
So
right.
at this point, normally of the meeting, what we do is we talk about, do you guys have any proposals that you want to talk about for our next general meeting? Is there anybody that you'd like to see come? Maybe it's about the time we had Friends of Trees. Is that they came last year? You know, it's a good time of year maybe for them to come. The ice storm was done. Does anyone have any ideas about someone that we would like to come and present at our next meeting, so that we can ask them and start promoting them now and get their commitment, 4 weeks in advance, 3 weeks? Doriandra?
We were earlier, Margaret and I were talking, it might be nice to have our advocate Cindy Kohler. She's the neighborhood association coordinator for the city of Eugene, and as always, she might be able to help us understand like this new budget a little bit better and just kind of talk about what it means to be a neighborhood association. So,
I think that's a great idea.
Cindy's a great speaker, and maybe even someone from her team. She's got such great people like Julian or so. What about that culture of belonging class that the city of Eugene led that you and I, neither of us were able to get to, but that may be another great topic. That's a neat thing that she would do.
Does anyone have any suggestions? All right, well, we'll figure it out and put it together.
Sure.
So considering what's happened today, Julie, I'm going to ask you to stay. And I did appoint Julie the interim secretary until we do have such time to vote. So we are now going to conclude our meeting. This meeting, we're going to turn off the recording, but please everybody stay online. Okay, don't sign out yet.
Okay.
So go ahead, Doriandra, if you